Today we've been looking at the effects of the recent hot weather on our countryside.
On moorland like this, the risk of wildfire is a recurring danger. But what's the cost to the countryside once the flames have burnt out? Here's Joe.
The stark beauty of Britain's moorlands, devastated by a summer of wildfires. Burning land across the UK, in Wales, in Scotland, and here in the Peak District.
The flames may have died down for now, but the impact of these moorland blazes has been sharply felt by everyone who relies and works on the land, and by the wildlife it shelters and supports.
But today there are still questions about how the fires could spread so quickly and burn for so long.
For many, the answer lies in the way that moorland like this is being managed.
Claire Crowther and her brother Chris help run the family farm here in Greenfield on the edge of the Peak District National Park. Land they use for grazing near Saddleworth Moor burned for 3 weeks. It was a fire the family were forced to ride into to save their livestock.
Chris, what was it like going up there, going into the smoke?
You had no idea of what you was going to meet, where the flames was going to be, because we couldn't see anything. The moor was a fire, the peat was burning.
And did you lose some sheep?
Could be dozens,
Really?
potentially. The extent of it we don't yet know because we're not really allowed up there for safety reasons. The fire brigade aren't letting us on yet.
Really? So even now, the weather's turning slightly, it's still too dangerous to go back up there, it's still burning?
Yeah, it needs a heck of a lot more rain than this, really.
Like much of the moor, the land at the heart of the fire was used for grouse shooting. Chris worked here as a gamekeeper.
Wow, what a sorry sight.
The grouse farmed here were at the mercy of the flames.
The chicks, they've no chance. They couldn't move. We had pheasant chicks, grouse chicks, we could hear them calling, they would all be gone. We did see a leveret coming out of the fire and then go back into it again. I saw a roe deer going back in. Yeah, it's devastating to them. There's no environment for them for the next foreseeable future, really.
But how can such devastation be avoided again? Chris believes the answer is to trust those who know the moorland best to manage the land so fires can't spread so quickly.
What do you think we should be learning from this?
A targeted approach onto the management of the moor, involving the keepers and the graziers more. We're on the moors all the time. We understand what would be best for the moor going forwards.
But so far, locals haven't been able to agree on how best to work together. Some critics say it's these large swathes of dry, heather-rich land used for grouse shoots that helped spread the fire. They want to see a wetter, more diverse landscape, like that created here at the nearby Dovestone Nature Reserve. It was wet gullies like these that helped stop the fire that had swept through the neighbouring dry grouse moor.
David, this is such a distinctive line. Yep. It's almost sort of dead straight.
The RSPB's Uplands Conservation Officer, David Hunt, believes the key to controlling the spread of wildfire lies beneath our feet.
Sphagnum moss, this is the building block of this whole environment we're in, Blanket Bog. The gully behind us has stayed wet throughout the summer. See, even now, after 3 weeks of no rain, it's sopping wet. And so that sits on the peat, and that, in actual fact, is keeping this area almost as a natural fire break.
It's taken years of conservation work to create the moisture-rich land here. Gamekeepers and grouse estate owners say that's simply not possible across the whole moor. Amanda Anderson is from the Moorland Association, which represents those grouse shoot managers. She says heather-rich land can be managed to contain blazes by using controlled burning to keep vegetation down.
The heather height is much, much lower, so we call that the fuel load is much less, as you can see.
That's what you're talking about here. So
yeah,
this would have been burned reasonably recently?
Yeah, a couple of years, 2-3 years ago. And so it hasn't got the growth down there. So the fire coming here, you've got a chance of putting it out in combination with this access track, so you could actually get firefighters here with the right equipment. Those two things are what put this fire out.
And Amanda believes grouse shoot owners are adapting the way they manage the land to give it greater protection.
What we're trying to do is build in resilience to these landscapes so that where it should be wetter beneath, we're making them wetter again like they used to be. But you can't do that everywhere. You know, there are dry bits of the Peak District that will always be dry. Heather likes it dry. It will grow really quickly. So control burning by skilled gamekeepers needs to stay in the toolkit. We all know what we want to get to, just disagree about how to get there sometimes.
The wildfires may have sparked a row over who was to blame for how quickly they spread, but it's clear those who live on and work this land are now looking forward.
No one knows where the next wildfire will be or what scale of devastation it will bring, but everyone agrees now is the time to find a way to work together to help this moorland recover and to better protect it from future fires.